Technique of the day, hitting Darce choke from turtle. One of my favorite chokes to hit, and it's not super complicated of a choke, but if you can start introducing yourself to how Darce chokes are applied and what to look for to set up a Darce choke, trust me, you'll be amazed at some of the positions that you can hit this from. But if you're doing this off of the turtle position, right? I've sprawled out, I've got a seatbelt grip of some sort, whether it's a full body lock here or I'm going through the neck and the armpit, it doesn't matter. But what I'm looking to do is get off to the side, right? Ideally, if I'm in the front turtle position, especially if he's not really doing anything and he's just kind of hunkering down, then yeah, I'm gonna take that opportunity to quickly work all the way around to the side and we can start attacking. However, if I'm going for the Darce choke, what I'm actually going to do, you can say there, I'm actually going to hit the first arm through as I cut to the side. So I don't necessarily want to go here and then start going for the Darce. I'm going to kind of position myself, and a lot of times, again, if I'm already in this position where I've got like both arms behind, I'll pick whichever side I'm going to go to. So for instance, if I go over here, I'm going to keep this arm, because let's understand the Darce choke goes from the armpit to the neck, right? So I'm going to keep this arm here, and what I'm going to do is as I spin, I'm actually going to use this angle to shoot this arm nice and deep so that by the time I get my hips all the way around, I'm already caught and trapped here. Now, what I'm initially looking to do as like the catch per se is I'm just gable gripping my hands behind his neck, right? And just keeping that pressure nice and tight. They're gonna feel this right away and immediately start trying to posture their head and start trying to defend that, right? So the first aspect of finishing the Darce choke, I have to break that posture and I have to knock them over. Now I'll show you two methods depending on your understanding of this, right? I want my pressure to be right at the base of the skull. If I'm behind the neck and I'm just chomping down on the neck, he's still gonna be able to posture his head. If I'm able to get a little bit higher on the head, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So again, it's easier for me to break the posture. Same time that I'm doing this, I also like to kind of give him a good old shoulder check and just drive my hips forward. So over here, I'm putting all this pressure in, I chomp down on the head, I start picking up at the shoulder, and as I drive forward, I'm just gonna toss them off to the side. Now the key with this is I wanna make sure that I right away scoot my chest. I don't have to be off my knees yet per se, but I wanna get my chest right behind his tricep so that I can trap that arm in place. I don't want him to work this arm out or anything that's going to relieve the pressure, right? I want it to be tight as shit right out of the gate. Now the other way that we have to kind of break this down is a little bit of torque on the neck. So if I'm struggling with this and he's, again, just giving me good resistance, right? As I drop this pressure down on his head, I'm also gonna take that forearm and drive across as well to get his head to go sideways, and then I'm actually gonna look to kind of pick up his jaw. So I'm essentially kind of torquing his head sideways. Again, I'm not threatening anything with this. It just makes it really uncomfortable, so when he does try to resist it, it puts a lot of pressure on his neck, makes it a little bit easier for me to, again, drop him, break the posture, and I can start working. So again, we got into this position, however you've broken that posture. Next goal, as I mentioned, I get my chest over his tricep, and again, I want to start kind of pressuring. Now, a lot of times I'll be on my knees initially until I get my hands situated. At this point, what I'm looking to do is I have to keep his head broken, because again, if he starts posturing that head out, it's gonna be really difficult for me to be able to get this choke. You can already see how much I have to lean over with my arm, and it exposes the ability for me to kind of get rolled over, right? So I wanna keep this head posture broken. As I'm doing this, you can kind of think of like little checkpoints, right? I'm gonna chomp down, my bottom hand is gonna wiggle out a little bit. If I'm able to get this all the way through out of the gate, great. But if not, I go a little bit, chomp down, a little bit, because again, every time I do this, the head's gonna come up a little bit more as he tries to fight it, chomp down until we get to the point where this arm is fully through to where now I can grab the inside of my elbow, bicep area. Again, I'm still chomping down the head the entire time. I'm now going to take that arm, bring it all the way up as much as I can on his shoulder blade. He can already start feeling the pressure. Now understand too, my thumb is up on this bottom arm, right? I don't want my arm down, I want my thumb up so that the blade of my forearm is going into the side of his neck. As I'm in this position, now I can bring my hips out and either just fully sink, squeeze, and we can get the finish from the choke there. And just, again, put a lot of that pressure on him at that point. If you're doing this and you're having trouble finishing the choke from here, right, I'm putting all this pressure on, I can also tuck down on my side and actually start kind of walking my hips toward him, which pulls his head down a little bit more. I can also look to pull his feet and start pulling them in and just essentially crunch his body together, still squeeze, and we can get the choke from there. So one more time from the top, right? Whatever reason he ends up in turtle, I'm in the front, I decide which side I'm going to, that arm's going to stay behind his arm. As I cut to that angle, I'm also going to shoot the arm through at the same time, lock that gable grip behind his head, and right away, I'm chomping down on the back of his head. So you'll notice initially my catch was here. When I go to chomp, that arm shifts up top again to get the base of the skull. That's the pressure that I look to put in. Once I buckle his hips right away, I secure behind his tricep, and I start slowly chipping away to get my arms through, lock it up, hip in, squeeze, and we can get the finish from there. Or if I need to, I can scoot off to my hip, hook the leg, pull him in, and we just make it suck for the person on the bottom. And that's your technique of the week, the Darce choke.